What's up, idols? It's CC Lesson 3. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I'm gonna keep it $150 with y'all. I am not feeling well at all. And it's very unfortunate timing because part of the reason I came to the States, yes, we had the family reunion, but also my family planned like a vacation together, and that is at 3 a.m. It is now 6:30 p.m. and I'm gonna film this and edit this and upload it sometime after I land. I'll probably schedule it for an upload, so y'all will see this like when I'm passed out. But I tried to do so much of this filming like before this trip and beforehand, because I know the Wi-Fi situation may not be the best and I don't want to go like 8 days or days and days and days without uploading. So I planned to do so much filming before I left, but I don't know if it's my period, I don't know what it is, but I've had a headache and I've been feeling nauseous the past 2 days. Normally when I get these emails, I'll read it, interpret it, and try to make it a story, like so it's like I'm telling y'all some tea. But in this situation, I'm gonna have to just read the email because this is something I really wanted you guys to hear. She literally said it's just a wholesome experience she had in Korea and she just wanted to spread some positivity on the channel. We live for positivity, especially since the past few videos have been quite negative. Just, it's reality though. And of course my mom would be vacuuming right now. I don't know if y'all can hear that. So this video, I don't know how long it'll be. I'm just gonna read this email because it sounds like it's very interesting and I hope you guys enjoyed this. Also, if you want to see some more story times, I also just uploaded something on Patreon. It was about a girl who was trying to do be a solid wing woman on a double date, and the dude was pervy and made some handsy requests in the theater, and it's insane. Here's a clip. But while we were out in this one night, something interesting did happen. We met a group of guys. One of them was so cute, CC, like OMG. I mean, in my opinion, he definitely has some work done, but it was money well spent. My compliments to the surgeon. He was tall and slim and so handsome. His group of friends he was with, however... My parents always told me if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say shit at all. I usually live by that, but to get to the meat and potatoes of this story, I gotta be kind of brutal. Then, when I thought it couldn't get any worse, he held my hand and tried physically putting it in his lap. When I freaked out and snatched it away, he tried acting like it was an accident. And he was scared and wanted my hand to console him. CC, we were watching the Captain Marvel sequel. Ain't nothing scary about that movie. There's a planet where Park Seo-joon is a prince, and they only communicate by singing. What could possibly be scary about this movie? But my stupid ass sat there and I let it go. I told him to leave me alone and I said I'm only here to make sure my friend has fun. So yeah, check that out if you want some more story times. But here we go. I'm gonna read this email that was sent to me. I hope you guys enjoy it. Dear Isis, I have 2 wholesome stories to share about 2 Korean guys I just met over my vacation. Obviously, I don't want us to be exposed, especially the second guy since he doesn't speak English and he has a YouTube channel. But I added some photos so you know that it's real. I'm sharing this story in hopes of adding some positivity to this channel. I hope they're interesting. These are 2 short stories about what I did over my vacation with 2 of the nicest guys I've ever met who didn't expect / want anything in return. Well, it's kind of appropriate to talk about this too since it's vacation season, right? For my vacation, I decided to go on a province hopping tour, 2 provinces I've never been to in Korea. The first 3 parts of the story were fun, but not important. On my last 4th leg, I stayed in a guest house in Sachon, and it was the best part of my whole trip. I arrived Thursday evening. Well, you know, it's Thursday evening now. And it was so quiet that I thought I was alone. I was disappointed because I wanted someone to interact with. I found out only men were staying in the other rooms. I was nervous at first because I'm a woman. But when the first 2 men came out, it was very awkward. They glanced at me immediately, looked away. No hi, no annyeonghaseyo or anything. Eventually, a 3rd guy came out. To avoid more awkward eye contact, I tried to avoid him in the dumbest way possible. Instead of going to my room, I stood adjacent to the guest house exit. I thought he would get water and just go back to his room. Instead, he came out into the living room. He looked taken aback when he saw me, but then he half smiled. We didn't speak at first, but he eventually did say "안녕하세요," and I responded. I didn't think much of this. However, he came back inside and asked me, 한국말을 할 수 있어요? Can you speak Korean? I told him yes, and he was, instead of asking to have a convo, he asked me if I was busy first. We had one of the best convos I've ever had. My plan was to go to bed around 11:30 to midnight, but we talked until 3 a.m. We shared a few things in common, both middle children, both Hagwon teachers, both eventually wanted to visit Jinju, but could only find a guest house in Sachon, LOL. This guy was born and raised in Jeonju and had never met a foreigner besides his Hagwon teachers. When he was a kid, he's 28, I'm 25. I was the first foreigner, not just American, that he had interacted with in any meaningful way. Do y'all hear that rain? Jesus. Bertha, or what's her name? Bertha? Betty? No, Debbie. Debbie's coming up. He only travels domestically besides 2 days to go in China for a high school trip. The only time he's ever left the country. He was very respectful and sweet and made me laugh so hard. He has this obsession with young Sheldon and told me his favorite word in English was Meemaw. We also both love Naruto, and I shamelessly showed him my Naruto run. Well, now I gotta do it. It seems I left a positive impression on him because he asked me what I was doing the next day. I didn't have any plans, so he asked if I had any pants. I was confused and said I didn't. He then asked if we could get breakfast, brunch, and go to a cafe on his motorcycle. I had never ridden a motorcycle before and always thought I would never ride one with another person because that's dangerous. I don't know what happened, but I said I don't have pants, but I have a long dress, so it should be okay. We barely slept because we were both too dumb to adjust our ACs in our room, except he admitted that out loud. I didn't. I just said, "You can't turn up the temperature," and he just had this oof, I'm dumb look on his face, LOL. I got on a motorcycle and held him too tight, so he had me hold on to the suitcase handles on the side of the bike. At the stoplight, he looked back at me and laughed because of how tightly I held onto those handles. I got off the bike wrong and almost exposed myself, so he kept looking forward to protect my shame. The food we ate was mediocre. The mandu was good, but he told me it was probably store-bought, LOL. He paid for everything. I offered to pay him back, but he said to me, "It's okay, you work 4 days a week, I work 6 days a week. I'm very lucky because at my Hagwon, I work 4 days a week and I still get a visa. But that does mean no housing and less money, which I'm fine with because I love having the time for myself. I work very few hours too." I honestly thought this was very sweet considering we had not even met 24 hours ago at this point. He also complimented the cute Ajuma who owned the restaurant. He told her, "Wow, I didn't realize someone this beautiful ran this restaurant." She smiled at him and told him he was very sweet, and I thought that was very cute. He then took me to Namhae, a city I didn't even plan on going to on my trip, and I was nervous, so I didn't take any footage while I was going. We drank tea and coffee at the best cafe I've ever been to in my life. I offered to pay for the drinks, but he told me it was okay. We continued to have a really nice and wholesome conversation for a few more hours. It was honestly wonderful. The only thing he asked that made me side-eye was if guns are really an issue in America, LOL. Yes, they're really an issue here. Other than that, we just joked around and even discussed harder to discuss issues. I mean stuff where either my Korean was lacking or his English was lacking, or both because I didn't know anything about the topic in English or him in Korean. I was pretty sad too when he had to leave back to Jeonju, but he was worried about leaving me at the cafe and took me to Namhae, so he took me back to Sacheon. I worked up the nerve to film videos on my phone while he drove. He also told me that when I came back to Jeonju, he'd treat me for a meal because I go yearly. Here's one photo of us and some video from Namhae. I know I'm pretty light, but I am black and I have one white grandparent, LOL. After the first guy left, I met another guy the same night. He is 10 years my senior. This guy is actually from Jeonju but resides in Busan. He also speaks no English. When I first met him, he asked if I was going to have a meal, implying he wanted to eat together. But I just flatly said, "Año?" and waved him away. I think I was a bit standoffish, but he smiled at me and said okay. He told me to sleep well in 존댓말, which I appreciated. I felt bad because of how I talked to him the first night, so I asked him what he did the next day. He told me and he asked me if I had dinner. I said no and we went to dinner together. He and the first guy are almost the complete opposites. I could tell pretty much right away and based on his mannerisms. He had been abroad a few times but also didn't know any foreigners. He seemed very serious and more quiet. It was pretty dark outside, so I couldn't react properly to a sudden incoming car and he very calmly said, "아니요, 아니요, 오른쪽으로 가세요. 안 돼요, 위험해요." Eventually, he just moved me out of the way of the traffic very calmly. We somehow made it to dinner alive and ate at a mediocre restaurant. He apologized because we couldn't eat at the restaurant he initially chose, but he kept repeating my apologies out loud while looking for a new one. I found out he's even more talkative than me because he got us a taxi and he talked to the driver the whole way, which was nice to listen to. He was very patient as I spoke in Korean too. I had been speaking 90% in Korean for 6 days at that point. He tried to speak to me in English, but he capitulated rather quickly. Things took a very funny turn when he told me he was a 개구장이, a class clown or punk in school. He feels sorry for his mom because he believes his behavior in school burdened her a lot and now she's very sick, so he takes care of her. The funny part was when he suddenly broke into stern disposition and reenacted how he acted in school in the restaurant LOL. He then told me his brother was an even bigger class clown than him and reenacted how he kept his younger brother in line. He would suddenly switch between his normal stoic demeanor, his former class clown demeanor, and his older brother demeanor. I lost my stuff because it was so funny that I regret not taking out my phone to capture it on video. I looked crazy laughing and he looked crazy reenacting. He told me to relax because he was worried I was laughing way too long and would hurt myself. He paid for our dinner and when I offered to pay him back, he said, no, we can just go to a cafe tomorrow. When we left that restaurant, we walked back to the guest house. He wanted to take a taxi, but he appeased me when I said, can we just walk for half an hour? He didn't voice his concern regarding the heat. I said we can take a taxi if he was uncomfortable, but he said no and we walked. I'm glad we did because he would suddenly sprint across an empty roads, the countryside, and yell, "Weomhae, let's go." And I fell down laughing literally because he was so dramatic. There was literally no one in the streets, we jaywalked LOL. The next day, Sunday, he felt bad because his dad had to leave Busan to go to his job in another province. He suggested we would have breakfast and go to a cafe, but he told me he suddenly had to go back to Busan because of his mom. He already told me that night he wasn't certain he would have the time, but he still felt bad. He profusely apologized for suddenly changing the plans, but he still took me to the cafe. It honestly really touched me because he was both concerned about my feelings and his duties to his mom. He was very sweet to offer to take me to the bus terminal since I also had to go home to my province. It moved me because sometimes it's so hard to find people who are so empathetic. In both cases, both of these men treated me really well and showed concern for me despite not knowing me for long and wanted nothing in return. They didn't ask me inappropriate questions. They both seemed to just want a little company on their solo trips and keep everything kosher. No touching besides keeping me from getting hit by a car, LOL. They also opened the door, not just for me, but for the people behind them. Anyway, I hope these stories aren't too boring or long. I just wanted to add some positivity to your channel. And let me tell you, girl, we appreciate it. Like I said, I couldn't really make this like a story time format. She said they were so short, it's two separate guys, she put them together. But I still hope you guys enjoyed these because I enjoyed reading them. It's like when you watch those YouTube videos where people just show themselves doing random acts of kindness. You just like to hear about good, wholesome shit every now and then. So I appreciate this so much. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see other story times on my channel, binge the playlist about to pop up on the end screen. I'm about to lay down because my tummy is turning. Thank you for watching. If you did, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Annyeong!